welcome to week number 3, episode number 3 of What Do You Know About Sports? Gary Jeffries, Lance Roberts, and myself, Randy Steinman, as we head into December here and some exciting things coming up. First of all, guys, I hope you had a great week, and we all saw each other on a Saturday in Waterloo, and probably first time in maybe, 15, 20 years we were all together, and that was great to see you guys.
That was awesome. Yeah, it was good. I think Jay enjoyed it.
That's good fun. Good fun for sure. Great memories.
It really is. It really is. And we've got lots of great memories to start off with the show here today. First of all, just quickly introduce everybody. Gary Jeffries, a longtime CIS football coach and basketball coach, 2005 Vanier Cup winner, which we'll address on the show today. And just a guy who's been involved in sports all of his life as both an athlete and a coach. You've got Lance Roberts to the upper right of the screen here, longtime NHL referee, refed close to 600 NHL games, continues to be an off-ice official in the Canadian Hockey League and has refed international events as well. And myself, Randy Steinman, longtime sports broadcaster, both radio and television, 40 years all told, and now retired. And I'd say the three of us have known each other for probably about 25 years. And we just sort of started this project up again a couple of weeks ago, this podcast. And we're really excited to get going here. This is our 3rd episode. And should mention off the top, today is December the 5th, 2023, just to give you a reference point on where we are in case you were watching this at a later date. And Gary, this is the 18th anniversary this past week of the 2005 Vanier Cup, when the Laurier Golden Hawks, coached by yourself, beat Saskatchewan in a thriller. And it was a great memory for me as well, and I was there that night. But what do you know about the 2005 Vanier Cup?
Well, December 3rd, 2005, as you just referenced, probably one of the happiest days of my life. It resulted, of course, as you said, the winning of the top prize in university football in our country, and it really was a process. I'll reference that here a little bit. It certainly wasn't just all of a sudden in 2005 we got real good and ran the table. We can go back to about 2002, and we were a 1-7 football team, but with a lot of young talent. And we lost a number of games that year that were very, very close. We came back the next year in 2003, and that was actually my first year as the head coach with this great group of kids, and they worked their butts off in the off season. And in 2003, we went 6-2. In 2004, we were the first Laurier football team to ever go undefeated and untied in the regular season. We went 8-0. We ended up we won the Yates Cup versus McMaster. Went to the national semifinal at Laval, and we dropped that one, so we finished the season 10-1. So hence, same thing in the off season, bigger, stronger. Virtually the same group that we started with back in 2002. 2005, we ran the table. We went 12-0, beat Western in the Yates Cup, and then ended up against Brian Towers' Saskatchewan Huskies in the final down in Hamilton. And again, we were big underdogs, but so again, some great plays in that game with some great athletes. I can remember Brian Hickey making a catch late in the game over the back of a defender, and kept the drive going. Andy Beckler scored a big touchdown in the 4th quarter. Minute 45 to go. We're third and 16. minute and 45 to go, 3rd and 16 around midfield. And we decided to go for it. And Ryan Peer hit Donnie Luciani, and he caught it probably for about 14. And he lunged and fought, and he got about 16 and a half. So we got the first down, down to 19 seconds to go, 32-yard line. Adrian Howard snapped it to Joel Wright, and Brian Devlin knocked a 32-yarder through the uprights, and the Hawks won. And as I said, it was one of the great days of my life, and we have memories there that about 130 of us in that football team, and that include players, coaches, and all the staff. Memories we'll never forget, and a bond that we'll always have. So that was our Vanier Cup run, and that was kind of the process that got it there. I'd like to mention Brian Towers again. Hadn't met the man until that game in 05. I know he gets tired of hearing me talk about that game, but if he's listening, I can tell you he's one of the best that's ever done it, and we're very good friends now. And so that's my Vanier Cup story.
As I recall, the OUA hadn't had a whole lot of success winning a Vanier Cup in the years prior to that. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys went into that game really representing Ontario and trying to sort of get the monkey off the conference's back in many ways.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was in terms of years. I think there'd been a bit of a drought for sure. The East and West were very strong, so I don't know who we were representing. I just know that we were representing Laurier and ourselves and our parents and our family and our loved ones. And if it was Ontario too, that's great. But it was a great day.
Well, keeping those guys together like that team together, like you say you had, like, was it two Vanier Cups you had in that run?
No, we went to 4 consecutive Yates Cups, won 2 of them, but we just won the one Vanier Cup.
So keeping all those guys focused like that over the years and filling in the spots and all that, that's all part of that with your crew to find the right players and keep that team strong like that through all those years. It must be tough at the university level.
Yeah, I think it speaks to the character of the young men that, on that football team, that they were determined. They were determined that they were going to stay together, and the goal was the big prize, the Vanier Cup. And like I said, it was a process through from about 2002. And the vast majority of them were still there in 05.
So a lot of your recruiting was probably part of the process you talk about that brought the right players into that mix. I would think you got some great recruiters in those days.
Yeah, the recruiting is the key. If you don't win the recruiting in the off season, you're not going to be successful during the year. And we did. We were fortunate to bring a number of great kids in back then. Rick Zamich was the head coach in 2002, and he certainly was responsible for a number of those kids that were in that program. And so absolutely, recruiting is paramount.
When you're recruiting, like, how do you find those players? Like, do you go out and watch them and scout them like hockey scouts do, or do they come to you, or how does that process work?
No, you have to get out, and it's so competitive now. It's paramount, as I said before, that you get out there and you beat the bushes everywhere. You know where you have a pretty good idea, the good programs in the province, and not just in Ontario. You've got to get outside of Ontario as well. And so having a great staff, scouting staff, and we've had some really loyal ex-Laurier players that that have helped us in this regard, and go out and see games and talk to kids, get information on kids, and then we have to get them back to the school and get them in for a visit. Try and get their parents to come as well, and go through that whole process. We just have a lot of good people that get out and look for these kids, find these kids, and engage them and get them back to the program and have a look at what we have there to offer.
Gary, you always hear about teams when they win a championship, they're unified forever, that particular team. Do you find that with this 2005 Laurier group? Like, has that group in the last 18 years remained together? Are there lots of reunions, and do you see a lot of those guys still?
Yeah, that group is very, very close, and I think that's the case. So with most eras, the kids are close. I just they gave me a ball cap a few weeks ago from the '87 group, and on the side of the cap is B4L, and that stands for Brothers for Life, and that's basically what we are, and certainly the '05 kids are no exception. That there's yes, we have got together on a number of occasions, and our golf tournament every year is certainly an event that brings them back, we're very, very close. It's a bond that will always be there.
Yeah, and I suspect the same is true with that 91 Laurier team that also won a Vanier. Almost a generation before your team in '05, and it'd be much the same. Hard to believe that's been 32 years already. Wow,
that really is hard to believe. Yeah, and I'm sure they're the same. There's that just happens in sport. I think Lance, you'd agree. It's no different in hockey. The guys that are in that dressing room, and the blood and the sweat and the tears that you shed together, it brings you together, and you'll always be close.
Yeah, in hockey, that's generally really true in that spot. But I think that sometimes they get traded to different teams, and whether they won a Stanley Cup with each other, they're not really brothers for life. They're going to go hard at each other in a hockey game because they're trying to win the Stanley Cup. I don't think they really care that again that other team won a Stanley Cup with them or not. So it might be a little different scenario when it comes to brothers for life when it comes to winning a Stanley Cup. So.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
But it still is an extraordinary journey. I just find that with recruiting in football, it's so important. I actually looked it up for the U of A Golden Bears one in '61 and '71, I think. And I was just a kid then, but it's quite a. When you look at all the ones that have won the Vanier Cup, there's not too many that do repeat. There's it's always a different team each year that wins the Vanier Cup, which was interesting to me because you can have, sometimes we had the Islanders win 4 Stanley Cups in a row, or to win a football championship. I think there's a lot more involved in regards to getting there, and winning back to back is even tougher, I think.
Yeah, I think we've spread it around a little bit more recently. We went through a period there where Laval out of Quebec, they were pretty dominant. But I think some teams have caught up over there, and certainly Montreal this year. There's a lot of great programs out there, and people are working at it very, very hard. Yep. So it's a great product. I wish more people would see it. I wish it was more available, televised for more people to see it. I wish more people would come out week to week. There's some great athletes, and it's for the dollar. There's no better entertainment dollar if you're a sports fan than CIS football. U-Sport football, sorry.
I always say that the university hockey is probably the best kept secret in Waterloo because it is amazing hockey, and they're all ex-junior players now, and it's at a semi-pro level, that hockey, and it's to get people to come watch. It's I kind of feel bad that there's not more people wanting to come watch that level of hockey in the area. We've got the Laurier Hawks, we've got the Waterloo Warriors. So it's kind of for University of Waterloo and University of Laurier, and it's tremendous hockey to watch when they come in from Brock and different places.
I know. Yeah. Well, I couldn't agree more, and not just those two sports. University sport in general, right across the board, whether it's soccer, basketball. There's some really, really talented kids, and you a great evening or afternoon of entertainment you would have if you go out and watch them. And I don't know if we market it as well as we can or should, or I don't know what it is, but you're right, Lance. The University High and the women's team. You go watch women's hockey. Holy cow!
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's good.
Lance, on Saturday night, after we saw you, Gary and I went to watch the Laurier-Brock women's basketball game. And what a great game. I mean, Brock was up by 9 in the first half. Laurier was up by 8 at one point in the fourth quarter, hung on by 1 in a real thrilling finish. And it was just fun. It just so entertaining and great atmosphere, and it's fun to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a good night.
I've been a part of the CIS National Championships a few times. I ran them with Hockey Canada. And when you get to those national championships, like your national championship, that's incredible, talented people playing at that level. It's something to see. We had great crowds at that CIS National Championship. I was in Saskatoon, and also we were in Halifax and up in Thunder. We were up in Thunder Bay. And it was like we had some great crowds for those events, which was really, really nice to see.
Yeah. Well, you know what, people, when I retired there, people asked me what was my biggest thrill, and it was that Vanier Cup in 2005, covering that. It was just a terrific event, and the fact that you guys won a thrilling game in the final 20 seconds made it all the much better. But then, getting back to Kitchener-Waterloo and putting that whole broadcast together, and then going out and joining in on the celebration in Waterloo at midnight that night was just so much fun, because the city had just exploded with celebration when you guys got home that night, Gary. And it was one of my most fun, most memorable nights of my career.
I'm glad we could share it with you. It was fun. There's no question about that, and we've got a pretty good football team right now, and hopefully that they're going through that same process. They lost a tough one to Western this year in the Yates, but they've got a young football team, and many of those kids will be back, and I look forward to in the next year or two, and maybe celebrating another one.
Hopefully so. That'd be great. All right, let's move on. We got topic number 2 here, and this was an interesting game in the NHL this past week when during a Florida Panthers Ottawa Senators game.
Every player on the ice has a 10-minute misconduct, among other penalties. I have never.
Referee Garrett Rank gave every player on the ice a misconduct after a little bit of a skirmish. And Lance, Garrett Rank really well, having mentored him as he came up through the ranks, pardon the pun. But what do you know about that game misconduct episode?
Well, I just wanted to touch on it because there's been all kinds of stuff flying around in regards to that. And one of the things that I've had come to me is that has it ever been done in the NHL before, and I believe that I'm not sure around mid-90s or something, but around 1990, I think Van Hellemond put all 10 guys in the box in the game. I think in Toronto one night he gave everybody a misconduct on the ice. Same kind of scenario. And I think the thing that I wanted to talk about, to give the props to Garrett to do that, is everybody remembers the playoffs last year where this was happening continually in the playoffs. There was nobody fighting. They were just grabbing onto each other, and they were all doing scrums continually. And I thought it just gave the game a bad look. And, the fact is I was kind of watching it going, is someone going to fight somebody here? Because in our day, there would be at least one fight break out, and we'd all kind of stand around that one fight. But nobody was fighting. They're just grabbing on, hanging on, and had this kind of a thing where the linesmen are trying to break it up. So I thought that, this is a great message to send. It's like, if you don't want to play, then we'll just put you in the box for 10 minutes and put you all in the box for 10 minutes. And maybe this will kind of get the message to the players that, fans love to see this, the entanglements and people going to fight, maybe fight. But if there comes a point where there's times to break and let's get to the face-off and get the game going again. And I don't as a supervisor, as an official, a lot of the referees that I do supervise in this area will probably, know that I don't really condone officials handing out misconducts like chiclets. You know what I mean? Like, I like to see them have something that shows that they have to give them misconduct, or they have to make sure that they make that misconduct call if there's abuse or something to that effect, or if they have this situation. And I think that, Garrett doing that, it was done in the right context of finally saying enough's enough, and saying let's put them all in the box. If you want to sit there, that's fine. Then you guys can sit there and we can wait till you want to play hockey again. And I remember when the minors and that, we used to have a lot of situations that, on stoppages where they would have that happen. And one of the directions that we got, which I thought was really a good direction from our bosses at the time, was if you get in a situation like that, is you go in and you give the 2 and the extra 2 to someone for, starting the scrum, and the one finishing it, you might give it, try to get an extra penalty in there for a minor penalty, just to send the message that we're not going to have this happen. But then there's the situations where they continue to do it. So the instruction was, and I liked it, because you'd go to the coach and say, okay, next scrum like that, we're taking someone for 10. We don't know who we're going to take, but we're taking somebody, right? So it would be a scrum one night. I forget what playoff game it was in what city, but it was in the minors, and there was a bunch of big scrums. I'd already gone past the minor sportsmanlike conduct penalty, and I took one guy out of there for 10, and I said, you're going to the box for 10. And they're all like, what about that guy? I said, no, I told you, one guy, and that's it. So I took the one guy out of the box. After that, they were pulling each other out of the scrums. And it was like there's no one to go for 10. So there's different ways of handling it, but it's also something that I think the game needed to have that happen, because that playoffs last year was really tough to watch at times with all the scrums and the grabbing and the holding on. Another thing with Garrett Rank that I really wanted to mention is that we've had I had a lot of time with Garrett coming through the junior ranks and everything. But one of the things that's interesting that I looked at, because Garrett Rank is now a referee in the National Hockey League, and Morgan McPhee is another young up-and-coming official headed for the National Hockey League at some point. And there was also, when I refereed, Mark Vines was a linesman in the National Hockey League. So what I'm trying to kind of put together here is that's 3 officials that have come and gone to the National Hockey League from Elmira. That's 3. And the odds of getting to the National Hockey League as an official, I saw the stat one time for all the officials in Canada is 0.0001%. We're talking about the little town of Elmira has 3 officials that have been to the National Hockey League. What does that tell you? How great a program they've had there? What great, opportunities that they've given their officials, and I think it's just something that's a testament to Elmira and the overall officiating, in the area. To have 3 officials from Elmira go to the National Hockey League is I think it's quite an event.
Actually, for a while there, I don't know if it still is a referee or official hotbed, but Guelph was a great place for officials to come out of. It seemed like about 3 or 4 of them at one time were out of Guelph too.
Yeah, we had a lot of officials out of Guelph, but some had migrated to Guelph. They weren't from Guelph. They had moved to Guelph, basically, because it was closer to the airport and stuff like that in those days. But yeah, they did have a lot come out of Guelph. You had Ray Scampanello, Ron Asselstein, Willie Norris. They were all, goal fights that came out of that area. So that was, at that time, was quite a thing. But a part of that was just proximity to the airport and the area. And that, with the National Hockey, had 6 teams in the league and different things like that kind of helped. That sort of happened for, Guelph was a pretty prime place to have from officials coming out of them. And they had Bill Dvorsky there, who Paul Dvorsky, Greg Dvorsky, is their dad. He was a big influence in that area and big influence of all of Ontario as a one-time, a referee and as a supervisor. And a lot of that had to do with Bill Dvorsky in some ways. He was a legend for sure.
I don't know Garrett at all, Lance, but I understand he had a pretty difficult decision to make when he was younger, and that's whether to go on and pursue the officiating career or become a professional golfer. I guess he's a terrific golfer as well.
Yeah, he was just about, I don't know exactly how it went, but he just about ended up going to the Masters. I think he was one stroke away or one hole away from in a match play to get to the Masters and be a part of that. But he's a remarkable athlete. His father was just a tremendous man and had a lot of influence on him and his brother. And I remember Garrett coming to me and asking me, about this decision a little bit. He talked to me about it. And all I could say to him was that I don't know if about the golf world, but in the officiating world, I believe some days I actually said to him someday you'll referee in the Stanley Cup Finals. So, and I think I don't know if I influenced his decision, but I had a lot of time with him, watching him, supervising him. I put him into his first junior game when he started refereeing, and he was a natural right off the bat. So he's got an amazing. He's got an amazing ability as an athlete. Plus, mentally, he's so strong mentally. It's incredible. Yeah.
Good for him.
Lance, I've golfed with you, and you're right. You don't know much about the golf world.
No, I don't. You got that right. Yeah, absolutely. I haven't gotten any better since I last golfed with you either.
Hey, you always hear about, how it's tough to find young officials these days just because of the abuse that they, can take from coaches and often parents. And you hear about how it's tough to get young people involved. What kind of advice can you give to a young kid, boy or girl, who is thinking about maybe becoming an official in hockey?
Well, I mean, you've got to get started officiating, and it is intimidating. But we've got lots of support systems happening now, a lot more recognition of the fact that they're for coaches and that for responsibility. We have a lot of things in Hockey Canada now to do with maltreatment, and there's things that have some fairly significant penalties for if you're abusing an official, especially a young official. We have a green arm program starting that we've started this year, that if you're under 14, between 14 and 16, you're going to wear a green armband to show you're starting out and you're learning. So there's lots of little things we're trying to put in place. And for officials, one of the things that, the things that they talk about officiating, to start officiating, they talk about the fact that, they get paid to do the job. Well, they don't get paid a lot at times when they're in minor hockey and that, and it's not why they referee. But the things that I tell recruiting-wise for officials to come and, become a part of being an official is all the skills you can learn at a young age. Like I started refereeing at that age of 15, the skills of communication, the skills of, fitness and working, skating out there, the skills of being able to communicate with people, and and plus the friends you make as you go along and the contacts you make. There's so much involved in officiating that's so positive for someone who gets involved and can get past all the noise on the outside of it, that they're there for life. A lot of officials stay for forever, which is part of the reason why they do it, because of the comradeship and all the things that they enjoy in the friendship and the communication and the excitement of being a part of the game. So there's lots of advantages of being an official, and we get past the noise of some of the coaches and that, and the fact that you can throw a feeling out of the hockey game if you decide you don't like that, then that's also, I don't like to give the power trip, but you do have that ability, right? So yeah, it's a great opportunity.
But Lance, just quickly before we move on, I just have one question about the misconducts and the mass misconducts, and the kind of statement that made. There were only 7 minutes to go in the third period. It was a 4-0 hockey game. Would you want to make, or would you think that same decision would be made in the first period? Nothing. Are you going to consider throwing 10 kids off the ice for the rest of the game, or did you have to look at the situation and before you'd ever do something like that?
Well, I would put it in this context is that it must have been happening and building as the game went on. You're not going to react to it until you know that you've had enough of this stuff happening. I don't know how the other scrums went before that, but there came a point where that point of the game where they'd had enough of this grabbing on, hanging on, and it was just a situation to say, okay, we got this. You want to play? You got 10 each. Last 7 minutes of the game, 4-0. You're out of here, kind of thing. But I would think it was probably an assessment as the game was going on that they decided to say, okay, we're going to make this decision. So I think it was all part and parcel of the whole hockey game.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right, great advice there on helping out young officials to get started. And we are going to move on. Boy, oh boy, guys, time flies on these shows. We're trying to keep these shows to about 40 minutes, and so we're going to keep moving here with our third topic of the day. And I wanted to talk a bit about this Corey Perry story here, which has happened in the last week, which is pretty unbelievable in that the rumors that stemmed from that story were just disgraceful. And I guess I just want to address it. And again, here we are. We're in early December here, so things could change quickly in real time. But in the last week, Corey Perry had an incident at some Chicago Blackhawks event, and his contract was terminated, and he went on waivers, and no one claimed him. And at this moment, he remains, I guess, a free agent. But what really bothered me was, the rumor mill started almost immediately after this incident had happened in Columbus, and unfortunately, the rumor mill involved the Blackhawks' young player Connor Bedard and a member of his family. Unfounded rumors started by online trolls, I'm sure. I didn't see any mainstream media reporting what everyone else was hearing and reading about online. But it just really bothered me. One, in that, the world is so quick to just pick on unsubstantiated gossip and rumor and run with it. And also, it bothered me, I guess, that the Blackhawks really didn't properly address what really happened. And at this point, still really haven't addressed it, which just leads to more speculation. And I just want to see what you guys thought of that whole story. I'm pretty sure you're going to be as appalled as I was by some of the rumors that were out there. But should a team like the Blackhawks and their PR department be doing a better job of just becoming more vocal and straightforward and honest about what really went down here?
Go ahead, Lance.
I'm just going to quickly say that Chicago still had some lingering from a previous situation that they had kind of fumbled the ball with that one in regards to a player and a trainer and all that stuff that was happening in that situation, which is all public knowledge now, not to dwell on that. But I think that this second situation that came up, whatever it is, and I don't know anything inside in regards to knowing what happened with Corey Perry. I don't know Corey Perry, but the thing about it is that I think that they had themselves now in their second situation in less than a year, just about, or maybe, it's still kind of, kind of lingering with them and still, in that back burner. And to have this happen, I think that, they had to do something quickly. They had to get something done quickly. They had to make sure they got it out there and did not want to, put out the right information without giving away the information that they can't talk about, because there's so much involved. And I think that's why this whole thing took its run through the internet, like all this stuff does, which was, like you said, none of it was true. That's the worst part about the internet, when they start running that stuff out there.
I think you're right on, Lance. It goes back to that incident back in 2010. It didn't come forward until, I think, 2021. That organization, the Blackhawks, I think they've got a history now of protecting the organization at all costs, their reputation, and cover up the best way we can, and instead of coming forward and being honest with the public, and hence when you don't do that, and you don't do it quickly, something like this arises, Randy, and it's horribly unfortunate, both for Perry and the people that are implicated. It's horrible. So I think it's incumbent upon the organization to come clean, and I understand that the reputation of the club is important, but I think the reputation of the individuals is more important.
Right.
Well, the hockey culture is changing rapidly. The culture of hockey did have its dark side, without a doubt, and it was in the days, back in the 70s and 80s and 60s and into the 90s. Hockey players did have this outlook and had a different approach to things. At times, it was not suitable. It wasn't proper. And I think that's kind of the stuff that they're still cleaning it out. We haven't quite got the whole thing cleaned out. Hockey Canada is doing their best to try to bring to light the incidents and trying to make sure we stay on top of those types of things. And they're treated, very severely, and they're reacted to. There's no room for error here. And I think that's part of the process happening here with Corey Perry and the hockey mentality. And they're trying to get on this quickly. How Chicago's handling it, I don't know what the incident was, so I don't know if they're handling it well or not. But I do know that the internet is quite a place, as you say, where the trolls run, and you really have to watch what you're reading there when you're talking about what happened with Corey Perry.
Well, here we are a week later, and I was online this morning, and I'm still reading comments from people that have been posted in the last 12 hours, 24 hours that are still going back to the rumor as if it was still true, and it's pretty much now been proven and stated by anyone that it's not true, but unfortunately people are going to have that story in their mind, and for another 10, 15 years probably still will be bringing it up. And I just wish the Blackhawks, I think, almost right away because they'd been hearing these rumors. And I wish almost from the get-go, the Blackhawks would have addressed that and said, first of all, we're here to emphatically state that the rumors that everyone is hearing, that didn't happen. So let's stop that. Let's nip that in the bud right now. And I don't know that they really did that. It's certainly not in the 24 hours when it first started rolling. Even in the next 48 or the next 24 hours, it was 48 hours before it was ever really addressed. And I can't even imagine what hell, the Connor Bedard group was going through during that time. And the Blackhawks weren't really coming to anyone's defense. And it just bothered me. And I hope that going forward, not only the Blackhawks, but NHL teams, all organizations will maybe learn from it and, just address things and be a little bit more upfront. and quash these rumors before they start going.
I think that when you're saying about insulating Connor Bedard, it's interesting today. I mean, going through what they do now with he's had a media onslaught since he's been 17 years old. So I think that the parents have done a great job for one thing, and I think that the parents have, I think they have a great support system around him of people who are keeping him, in the right direction in regards to what he's doing. When he got drafted, when he was playing this year, started the season off, I was a little skeptical, thinking wow, I don't know how well he's going to do in the National Hockey League. I had some guys telling me he's going to be unbelievable. I was like, oh, well, I'm not quite on board yet. But after watching him play a few more games, he's starting to really show that he may be one of the great ones coming up. And I think that the insulation around him and the protection around him will be really high in regards to for him himself. So I'm not worried in regards to Connor Bedard and how they'll handle it on that side. I just think Chicago has been hit twice now, and they're reeling a little bit on trying to get themselves back on their ship back on even keel to try to be sure to get the right information out there and not get themselves in another situation like they just came out of, right? So
it's hard for us to speculate when we don't really know, what happened. I think all we've heard is Perry has gone into a substance abuse program, and he's maybe had some issues there. Is that it, or was there certainly something more that's happened here that, and I don't know if we'll ever know, quite frankly. And I'm sure the Blackhawks are wrestling with how much that they divulge, I guess, and so I guess we'll just have to play this one out and see.
It was interesting. Corey Perry released a statement that was almost more it was more upfront than anything the Blackhawks had really said. And it's almost like the Corey Perry PR firm, which I'm sure he has one, the Blackhawks could learn from that firm moving forward. Anyway, guys, great conversation. Our time is pretty much up here. Have a great week. We'll see you next Tuesday, and stay out of trouble.
All right.